Hi guys, happy Mondays. I almost started talking way too soon, but I caught myself at the last minute, and that's all that matters. Um, we're joined tonight by some wonderful people, and I'm gonna let them say their hellos. Cloki, you're here again. Say hi. Tell these people who you are, in case they don't know.
Hello, people watching. I am Cloki. I'm the guild leader of Omni.
And I guess you don't. And we also have Raev, the guild leader of A Team. Say hello and tell them who you are.
I think you just did that for me, but yes, I am here. Stole my thunder there, Sirken.
It's alright, you can steal it back.
I am Sirken, the GM of Project 1999.
Hmm.
I tried. Um,
Alright, well, welcome. That's gonna drive me crazy. Uh,
What's that?
nothing. I feel like I was hearing every, like, part of my other words and it was making my brain explode, but now I don't, so I feel good about it. Um, so hello everybody. We're here. I guess we could just jump right in. We were kind of talking a lot about, Class R stuff and server stuff before we went live. And I guess we'll just start at the beginning. We'll start with Raev because you're new here. No, fuck that. We'll start with Cloki because you're not new here. I don't want to put the new guy on the spot. How's Class R life?
Class R life is pretty good as near as I can tell. We've got some pretty good cooperation going on there. We have a pretty fair community, and we tend to work out our differences among ourselves, which I quite like.
That's good. That's good. Um,
Ask me about Omni, though.
I will. I'll get to Omni. How many guilds are in R now? Is it still about 10?
Let me have a look. Make it count. 10 are in the rotation for the smaller mobs. Some of the nastier mobs we double or triple up on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there are 10 guilds included as full members of R.
That's good. That's good. I know it's been 10 for a minute now, and I won't start ranting and raving about math because I've done that in the past. But let's just jump into Omni. Tell me things about Omni. What if tell me the history of your guild, but also tell me why Omni is the guild for me.
All right. History of the guild. I was in BDA for a while and did a lot with the daytime crew there, and I left BDA for some more or less personal reasons. And after a bit, I founded Omni. We are a daytime crew, mostly U.S. daytime. We've got a lot of Euros and a lot of Asian people in the guild, and we are pretty good for folks looking for the daytime raid experience on P99. We're kind of weird in that we recruit people over classes or gear. I feel like I can teach people the mechanics of the game, or I can get gear for them or help them get gear, but I can't teach people how not to be a douchebag or an asshole. And so we're really selective about the people we let in, and sometimes we make mistakes, but those guys don't last too long in Omni. We're pretty community oriented, and we tend to give a shit about what goes on within our guild and also on the server. And so if you're looking for a daytime guild that's full of decent folks who'll treat you well, but who have high expectations of you as far as the kind of person you are and whether or not you can actually learn the game, Omni's a pretty good spot.
A plus. A plus. Raev,
hey,
tell me, give me a little bit of feedback on Class R. Give me some information on the A team.
oh well. In terms of Class R, for me personally, it's it's almost kind of a burden because I have all of my R loot on all my tunes, so it's just I have to check the spreadsheet, and I like actually forgot multiple times. Like I like the worst citizen of class R ever. On the New Year's Eve, I totally forgot we were up for Sev, so we killed him like 4 hours afterwards. I nearly forgot Maestro, and I even nearly forgot Avenging Sather. So this is why I am building my guild relations team to handle this stuff, because I evidently can't. So that's my take on Class R. It causes me to like check spreadsheets.
All right.
I mean, it's just a joke. About the A team, A team is I think a substantially older guild than Omni. We were formed by me 2 years ago, I think, during the great TMO era, and basically most of our guys either had the option to join TMO or didn't, and I actually did some raiding with them, and I just found it boring because they were so good that it was so easy for them to kill stuff. And so our focus was more on doing stuff with low numbers. We would farm a lot of stuff, do Howlingstone South with 2 people. We were one of the first to try doing the Royals with a few people, although I think EDA and TMO were the ones who really cracked that encounter first. But yeah, that was always kind of our motif, and now we are trying to push our low numbers motto into Valius. So, low numbers for like Sky is like 12, low numbers for, Kunark targets is like 24, low numbers for like Valius maybe more like 35 or 40. We took our first jaunt back to Valius beta last night, and we did pretty well, so I'm happy. I think we're doing some fun stuff and stuff where, the encounters are challenging and the actual PvE is challenging, and you have to think up new ideas and execute correctly. So that's pretty much the A team.
I like it. What did you kill on beta last night?
We got Vindy and the statue, so we're gonna do it much better next time. We have quite a few ideas to fix, but we still got them first time. Unless you count the time when I couldn't get healed because I was somehow bugged out. I really have no idea what happened. The server claimed I was out of range even though the clerics were standing right next to me, so that sucked.
That is absolutely. It's beta. I'm writing all problems off as beta. Shit. Do you guys do like a weekly thing on beta, or was that just like a one-time thing?
The first of many weekly things on beta. I think there's going to be a very big difference between guilds that do beta regularly and guilds that don't when this releases.
Oh, I like that you guys are. Not just you guys, but everyone who's logging in the beta server. I think you guys are not just awesome, but you're helping the staff and the dev guys a lot more than you might realize. And we love you for those things. I have so many questions, and I'm trying to word them carefully. You know what? We'll skip questions. We'll just go right to something that's kind of pissing me off. 2 weeks ago, I didn't stream last week, so 2 weeks ago we streamed. I streamed. You weren't here. And then following that stream, I got a very evil private message, and it was paragraphs long, accusing me of saying all kinds of things that I did not say, and then furthermore going on to say that this here wonderful stream that provides entertainment to all these wonderful, wonderful people is affecting CSR. And most things, they don't bother me, but when I see somebody attack something I do for enjoyment with 3 hours a week of my life, it upsets the absolute shit out of me. So I decided to slam dunk all over his face. And we went back and forth like 3 or 4 times until the only thing he was hanging on to was this very, very last sentence in his private message. And I really couldn't argue that one sentence, so I conceded it and ended the conversation. And then you know what happened. Not 5 days later, the same person makes a post somewhere where I see it saying the exact same shit. And I absolutely lost my mind about it. And I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And I know the people in the chatter box here probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But how do you guys feel about that? Do you guys feel that this here stream is affecting the quality of CSR that you deserve on this here emulator? You can just jump in. You don't have to raise your hand or nothing. I'm not going to call on you.
I was waiting for Cloki to take this one.
All right, I can take it if you want.
Take it, Cloki.
So the argument was that because you stream for 2 or 3 hours a week, those 2 or 3 hours could be better spent handling petitions or being in game or something like that. Was that the crux of it?
I think the assumption is that I would spend this time doing petitions and not just fapping it to nudes of Rogan.
Right. Well, and thanks for that mind poison. But because I can only see Family Guy thinking about that. But anyway, I think that there's a lot of hubris involved in an assumption like that. You are unpaid. I mean, I don't know how many hours you put in. I know how many hours I've put into Omni. And it's another full-time job, and I have to imagine that this is for you. And so I think that everything that you choose to donate, every bit of time and energy and thought that Raev chooses to donate, that I choose to donate, that other guild leaders and officers and players choose to put into the building of the server should be seen as a boon and should be seen as something that we should be grateful for rather than an expectation. And so, I mean, for me, it just stops at the hubris that someone can tell you or me or Raev or anyone else what the fuck they should, excuse me, what the hell they should be doing with their entertainment and recreation time. Because in your world, that's what it is, as it is mine and everyone else's.
Yeah.
Hey, they're saying in the stream that they can't hear us, so turn up my mic and turn up...
I have all of you guys. I have you and him both at absolute max on every possible volume setting in XSplit and on my computer.
All right.
I mean, he sounds very reasonable to me, so I don't know. I will say, though, that reality is people do things so they feel good about themselves. And if the price for getting a GM is that he's going to spend 3 hours of his week streaming, like, what a catastrophe, you know?
It's just, I don't know. I think it's cute that people automatically assume that I would spend that time doing CSR things and not just doing something else for my own entertainment.
Go drinking.
Really, anything.
Yeah, blow it off. I mean, really, it's your time. It's your entertainment time. It's your recreation time. It's a gift to the community, and make your own decisions. I honestly, I would have stopped at the hubris and not taken it personally.
Oh, I just wanted to rant about it because it pissed me off. I have a legit question about Class R, though. Has the idea ever been brought up or discussed either pre-rotation back in the way early days or post-rotation or even recently? Has it ever been brought up to do like a, just, I don't know if it would be doing away with the rotation, but set up some kind of free-for-all within Class R, just with the Class R guilds?
Yeah, there actually has been, and there are a bunch of pluses and minuses on that. One of the things that really sucks about Class R is that sometimes you go a number of months between targets on the 1 week, and then the 1 week spawns and then the 2 weeks off, which brings me to another point, and I want to talk about earthquakes. Don't let me forget this. I got a big rant here. But the trouble is, keeping a rotation and injecting an FFA element will only lengthen the periodicity of the targets that are available to guilds. And so if we did that, we'd probably have to drop the rotation altogether, which is not necessarily unpalatable thing to many, if not all of us. But yeah, that has been discussed and will continue to be discussed. It's a good question, and I'm not sure exactly where it is that we'll end up in R, but I think the best answer is everything is on the table always, and there's a lot of back and forth.
I like it. How would you feel about that? Like if it came, let's say one of the guild leaders or two of the guild leaders was like, I would like to, uh, oh man, I don't even know how it would work because I know right off the bat not everybody would be on board with it. I don't know. I just
Okay, well, hold on. Let me jump
I'm
in, 'cause
trying
I
to
think
think
I
of a
know
way
what
to
you're
compete
asking,
for
okay?
mobs within the class.
Let me jump into what you're asking here.
Mm-hmm.
What that would take is it would actually take some staff involvement in order to make it sustainable. And by that I mean, if you guys are truly serious about Class R not being its own little sandbox, but actually a developmental thing, that you would actually man up, ball up, and say, okay, these are the criteria at which a guild is ready to go see. Go FFA. We're gonna pull the cream now and then when these criteria are met. Otherwise, what you'll end up with is 2 or 3 or 4 guilds who are on perma lockout, and the rest getting a target now and then because it happens to come at a lucky time. You'll see the destruction of some guilds, mergers of others. Some will just die on the vine. Others will, come and form a super group. And it'll really change the complexion of things. But if it truly is a progression, there's got 'cause nobody's going to leave Class R voluntarily, I don't think. Or if they do, it will be after a period of serious dominance at which they decide that they can get more pixels in C. But if you were on perma lockout in R, that wouldn't be a bad deal as far as pixel income goes. But you guys got to step up if you want to see the training wheels come off of Class R.
How do we got to step up? Elaborate on that for me.
Set a criteria and say, okay, looks like you guys, we expected you guys to take your own goddamn training wheels off and move from R to C when you're ready. That's obviously not happening. You're sitting in your comfortable little sandbox loot vending machine shithole that we don't like. So we're going to tell you when your training wheels are ready to come off because you don't have enough self-awareness to do it yourselves.
I like it. It's just, oh man.
No, I'm just saying that FFA within R is going to end up being a shit show without somebody saying it's time for the training wheels to come off. I mean, the amount of petitions that you guys have will treble easily.
There's not too many. People think it's a lot worse than it is. The problem is each one takes a lot of time. And so if you have 3 or 4, that's a pain in the ass.
Well, what I'm saying is it's going to be a force multiplier there. And so you're pain in the ass. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're multiplying, 10 by 4 or 4 hours or 100 by 4 hours. An increase is nasty and, nasty on taxing on low resources as it is.
Also, you have to understand that actually, like, raid mediating Class R would suck. Because in general, these are less experienced guilds who aren't going to be following the 5,000 rules of the Project 1999 raid scene. They're going to be more likely to train each other, and there's going to be like 12 of us showing up for every FFA mob, as opposed to, like, the only reason Class C really works is because there's only 2 people. Like, even 3 guilds aren't too bad, but like 4 or 5, or like something like Inaruk is just a complete shit show, as I think we had one recently.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, reality is, you should be praying that Class R does not go FFA, because you're going to get a hell of a lot more petitions. And plus, we're good at arguing. We've had a lot of practice.
You guys are so good at working things out amongst yourselves, though. Why would it have to come to Petition Quest?
I think right now there's a spirit of cooperation. I think that in FFA, that spirit of cooperation would go out the window across the board.
Even if it was just the Class R guilds competing?
Yeah, I do. I don't think there's a way around that.
How would you guys just throw a year of working together out the window?
So,
I'm not going to answer how. I'm going to tell you that I know what would happen.
Can I take this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, one of my favorite psychological experiments, I have 3. And if you're really lucky, you'll get the other 2. But One of my favorite ones is the Robber Caves, where they took a whole bunch of people, little just normal schoolboys, out to this park, and they had them organized into teams, and they had the teams constantly compete against each other. And within like 4 days, these guys hated each other's guts. Like, they fucking loathed each other. They were breaking into the other guys' dorms and like wrecking shit, and they stole the other team's flag. I mean, they were just completely going nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And the staff was just horrified at what they had done, and so they tried to, will these guys back into, normal, non-psychopathic citizens, and they started doing some cooperative stuff, and after, a couple weeks of that, they were able to mend the fences. The point being, that first scenario is Project 1999, over and over and over again. The server is so crowded that you're constantly just bumping into someone. And so it's just this, even for people that are pretty nice, it ends up just being this constant, withdrawal from the bank account. Like, oh, those fuckers were at my Spore King. Oh, they decided to contest me on the Over King at Chardock. Oh, they were in fear. And like, a normal person's like, okay, whatever. God damn those assholes! That's basically how it would go if the R Guild started to compete. I'm sure it would start out reasonable, and after about 2 months, it would be a complete shit show, just because, it's human nature to not like people who are competing with you for things.
I suppose. I feel you guys. I feel it's harder to maintain your guys' rotation than it is, and to agree on all the different stuff I've seen you agree to, than it would be to, not be dicks to each other at an FFA.
I'm fairly sure that's the inverse, to be honest, but...
Yeah, I am too.
Especially
Sadly.
since the actual members are somewhat insulated from all the crap that goes on in the FAP forum. If we're going to negotiate all that stuff, they don't have to deal with it. They just know that, hey, we show up for our mob, and we're like, oh, they're nice enough to let us have them. Right? So it's at least just the officers who are dealing with all the negotiations and such. Once the individual people are saying, oh, God, they took our mob, then I think it would go downhill rapidly. Because what I'm trying to say is the officers are the more reasonable people, right? We're more capable of forgiving and forgetting and dealing with these things and making the compromises.
And we know each other too, and that makes a difference. I mean, if I act out or Raev acts out, we've got a long enough history with each other that we can cut some slack. But when it gets down to the membership level, it gets a whole lot more black and white.
I see. Raev, you mentioned the server being crowded and all. At what point does Class R become too crowded? And either one of you guys can take that. Because realistically, every guild that's not considered Class C is considered Class R. And I've made it real clear my thoughts on what would happen if I found out a guild was not allowed to be part of this rotation. Unless, of course, they went rogue, then whatever. But as long as they're trying to play by the rules and participate, I'm going to force you to let them into the rotation. And I don't want it to... I'm trying to think of a way to sugarcoat it. I'm just not going to. You really can't argue the point that having Class R, and especially having a rotation inside of Class R, makes it much, much easier to kill dragons. Because they're not hard to kill. You just throw enough people at a 32k mob and it dies. At some point, more and more guilds are going to be like, well, we can, if everything comes together perfectly, we can kill this thing, let us in the rotation. And
all right, well, Sirken, you're saying a couple of things that really are either not relevant or assumed. Anybody who wants in can get in. If Dojo Blowjob, what's their name?
It doesn't matter. I don't think they want in.
Or Shinko's guild wants in. There's no barrier to entry. They're welcome to join the fellowship and get on the list. The other thing that you point out is that if they're...
Let's not act like it's never happened.
Yeah, let's not act like that's ever happened, but I'm not going to own that, and that was...
I'm not saying it's your fault, but let's not act like I'm just pulling random things out of thin air that have never happened before, because they have.
It's not going to happen again.
Well, I hope not.
The second thing is that, yeah, sure, there's a carrying capacity. We're probably past our limit now, and we've got rumblings all the time because there are too many guilds strolling up and knocking off dragons on their own terms. And yeah, we get 2 or 3 or 4 more, or maybe even we're past the carrying capacity now and something's got to give. But that's going to be a natural consequence of the numbers and the resources that are available. And so, I mean, yeah, what you're saying is exactly right, and assume it's true because it is.
Well, big problem is that our rotation has been moving very slowly because we haven't had any rumbles for the past 2 months.
Oh, that's not
That's
true.
true.
That's not true at
We've
all.
had one. We've had one in
Sorry,
January,
we
February.
had one in January.
And
And
weren't
we
you
did have a
promised 1 to 3 a month?
Hold on.
Okay.
We've had one in 2015.
Yeah, and we're still in the first month of January, and I believe that it was promised 1 to 3 repops a month.
It was 2 to 4 in the negotiations. You guys memory hold that, but it was 2 to 4.
Okay, so if you get one more in the next 5 days, then it's on tact with what was promised.
How many were in December?
I don't know, but here's the other thing: when raid guilds act like pieces of shit, we don't reward them by giving them more mobs.
All right, now we're getting onto it. We can start preaching, Cloki.
Yeah, I think we can. Raev, go ahead. I'll back you up.
Okay. So Sirken, you have served me up a nice.
Yeah, right over the plate. Go ahead, blast
Right
it out
over
of
the
the park.
plate. I'm gonna wind up and smash it out of the board.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, the Class R guilds are not the ones who have been behaving like assholes.
Just because they're not the ones getting publicly suspended doesn't mean they're not acting like assholes.
We act like assholes on our forums, man. We don't actually act like assholes in game over raid targets. Because I know for a fact we haven't competed over any raid targets aside from Noble de Jordan since I can't even remember when. So by definition, we're not trading anyone because we're not even there.
Okay, I'm not going to say that Class R guilds are bad because there's really only one guild that I've had issues with doing things. And so I won't judge the lot of you by that one guild.
The point is the people that are not showing up for the FFA are the ones that are getting punished right now. My personal goal for the A team is I would like us to be a Rumble guild. I would like us to say, Rumble happens, we're going to get as many targets as we can, because to me, that's real competition, If you put us up against BDA or Taken or, hell, TMO IB, we win, great. We lose, we'll take our lumps, right? I mean, that's skill, that's coordination, that's gear, we don't have a problem with that. But we're just not willing to sit at these targets for 16 hours, and that's
I don't blame
necessary.
you. I would absolutely not sit at a target for 16 hours.
Well, my point is this, right? Right now, over the past 2 months, the sitting targets have been something like 80% of it, and the Rumble targets have been like 20%. And if we were getting 4 Rumbles every month, it'd be 50-50. I mean, the people that are, counting on the Rumbles and the mobilization stuff are getting penalized, and the people that are counting on the poop sacking stuff are not. I'm just saying.
I can't argue with that. I don't see guilds that... I see the guilds that compete in the free-for-alls as the guilds that are better suited for mobilization. And...
What?
Hold on. I know there's poop socking involved with the free-for-alls. I get all of that. What I mean by that is they have the bodies. You need people to be able to log in. You don't know when a rumble's going to be or an earthquake's going to be. It could be at noon. It could be at 7 p.m. It could be at 4 in the morning. You have no idea. You need bodies.
We just won't go. I mean, it's fine with us. And that's one of the nice things about rumbles is that you don't have to be a 24/7 guild for rumbles. Like, if you're a Class C guild, you have to be 24/7 because, you're tracking these mobs. They could spawn at whatever time. Even if you're a Class R guild, you kind of have to be 24/7 because your R target could spawn at night. But Rumbles, you just say, hey, our Rumble window is noon to midnight Eastern. And if it doesn't happen in those windows, we just won't go after it. And that's...
Correct. And the other thing, too, is that the repops, when we discussed the 2 to 4 in the negotiations that brought about RNC, they were going to be coded and they were going to be random on a 24/7 basis. And most of the repops, all but one, I think, have either occurred on weekends or U.S. evening hours. And that leaves guilds like Omni and Europa and some others to a lesser degree pretty much out in the cold because our
let's say-
people are at dinner with their families during those times.
We've had some very late night ones. We've had a few. I remember at least one in the morning.
Yeah, we had one on a weekday morning.
For a while, they were just like Saturday, Sunday, like clockwork. And then after that, in the summer, they were very random. And since then, I don't think they really had much of a pattern.
Well, I can say in the summer is I know that's Rogan's super busy work time, and so summer is always slower for things that require him. As far as say like mid-September through current day, I feel like you have to have been getting more monthly repops than you did over the summer.
That's correct. For a time there were 2 to 4 a month consistently, and it seems to have dropped off in the last couple of months.
Well, I know the last one was on New Year's because when Rogan asked if he should do one at midnight, I told him he was an asshole.
I thought it was funny. We couldn't do anything about it, but that was a good time. I thought
it was funny as hell. But I know that if I was a player, and I got a bat phone or I heard that there was repops, I would have called the staff a bunch of assholes, and continued on with my night.
Oh, that's what we did.
repopping at midnight. Oh, that is just rude. So, I mean, realistically, I can tell him that I think there should be more repops, but I just don't. I'm trying to think of a better way to say I don't care.
Well, right. And you know what?
It's
You're on
just
the hook
so
too
hard.
for saying, hey, look, the lack of repops are punishment for people
Part
being
of
like
it
assholes.
is. Part of it
I know.
absolutely is.
But you're punishing some people. What you're doing is you're punishing 20% of the rating population, or 80% of the rating population for what 20 or 30% of the rating population has done. You know, whether you like it or not, that's the net effect.
That might be true. I don't see, right or wrong, when people do things to piss the staff off, the staff is not going to be like, oh, well, we got to take care of these other people. The staff's just going to be like, you know what? Fuck you then. And we're just going to get up and walk away. And that's pretty much what happens. And it might not be the right thing to do. Maybe it is the right thing to do. I don't know. I'm not a judge. But that's just real life. When people get pissed off, they don't want to do nice things for people.
No, I agree. I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I think it's probably You know what? It is childish. Do the right thing because it's the right thing. I mean, go after the people who you want to go after, but if you take a policy that punishes, 70% of your population for what 30%'s done, I mean, that's pretty indefensible. Your call, your world, do it how you want, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm not going to say indefensible. I'm just saying that if I were a GM and I had a group of people that were pissing me off, I would have a lot more fun banning them for a month than just walking away.
If I ban a guild for a month, that guild dies. That's a death sentence.
And
is this a problem?
So what?
You have to do something pretty fucking heinous for me to justify destroying your guild.
Well, I appreciate that.
But, I mean, look, I think I would probably be a little bit less of a dictator as I'm giving off. But the point is this: we just feel it's a strange position. I mean, I get the frustration though. I mean, I think the problem is the server is overcrowded, and everyone is fighting tooth and nail for their pixels, and that includes pretty much everyone on the server. I mean, I don't think I really don't think there are assholes on this server. I think there are just people who are more desperate for pixels or less desperate for pixels.
Oh, no, you're wrong. Some of the people are assholes. Some of the people are just... I won't say a lot of people, but there are some straight-up assholes in this community.
There are a small fraction of psychopaths, But, I mean, that's true anywhere,
Right, it's a numbers game at this point.
I mean, you're going to get some. But the point is the average person acts like much more of a dick on this server than they would normally, just because they're in a position where it's so crowded. And that's just a human response. When there's competition that's this fierce, your instinct is to go kill them.
And I know a large part of that is being in Kunark for 4 years, and just the top guilds really aren't able to progress to the next set of content, leaving it open for the guilds behind them, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing too is that I think that there are two things true about organizations. Number one, organizations often take on the character and personality of their leader, and number two, there are a lot of recent pretty good research. I've looked at the actual studies, shows that sociopaths make the best leaders and often end up in leadership positions. So, if that's true, and I think it is, and if it's true that a community's personality as an entity is dependent on the leader, it's only natural in human interaction that you've got a bunch of sociopathic entities playing in a small fishbowl.
So basically, what you're saying is the whole Class R message board is run by a bunch of sociopaths, or is really just filled with a bunch of sociopaths.
It has the potential to be statistically. That's all I will say.
That's good to know. That actually explains a lot.
Well, and not only Class C. Anytime you've got a human organization, that's going to be the thing, because sociopaths are statistically, scientifically, incredibly overrepresented in leadership positions.
I agree.
To begin with. But look, Sirken, here's the thing. I was just thinking about this while Cloki was calling us all sociopaths. Imagine you have like a garden, right? And for whatever reason, your garden just isn't, as nice as you would like. And so you as the staff are like, fuck it, I'm just going to go inside. Well, the reality is, or it's like a house or whatever, you stop maintaining, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so the question is, how much do you want to have a server or a garden a house or whatever that you're happy with? And, if you think it's worth fighting for, then I think you should fight for it. And if you don't, then oh well. Just tell us this and decisions and go. I mean, I'm not necessarily leave, but we'll decide what to do.
I like the house analogy a lot. It's good.
I mean, I think it's exactly true. You have a project, and this is one of the things. I mean, I think everything just is subject to the second law of thermodynamics. It all decays, it all rots. And if you want it to be there, you have to maintain it. And, for the raid scene, it means you have to continuously tweak the rules and continuously, experiment with the mechanics, do the rumbles, these kind of things. I mean, otherwise the server will gradually decay. And I think you're starting to see that.
Nice work on the entropy. You're dead on that. You got to fight entropy with work.
He tied it all together at the end there.
I had a straight. Almost a physicist, then I became a computer scientist.
And now you're going to flush that all down the drain by leading a guild on Project 1999.
I have my own issues, let's put it that way. But no, I mean, I just think that's the case. I mean, whether it's a car, whether it's your personal skills, like as a boxer or a saxophonist or whatever, it just takes continuous effort, and it's not easy. And, I would suggest, what I personally have done with the A team is I've really tried to delegate a lot to people.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been trying to do that, I've just been trying to find more people who have the energy to do as much as possible, so I don't have to do it. And I think they often do a better job than I do. So, and I certainly can't do all of it, and I can't do everything as well as a group of people can either. And sometimes, they come up with some really good ideas. So, I mean, if Rogian is just not interested, maybe he can, get someone else who is.
Let me tell you something. If this project loses Rogan, the project dies. Straight up dies.
You may very well be right.
His world, his plug to pull.
We wouldn't even pull the plug. We would try to do it without him. But I'm telling you, as someone on the other side of the curtain who sees how much he does, the project would literally die. It wouldn't be right away. It wouldn't be overnight. But it would be the first domino in an unstoppable trail of little black rectangles that eventually landed on death for the server.
Well, at the risk of being slightly arrogant, I think the A team is pretty similar with me. I think if I leave eventually, the guild would break up. Now I hope that I get the guild strong enough to the point where it won't. But the point is not that's not what I'm saying that he should just leave. What I'm saying is if he should find some people to help him. That is pretty much what I've been trying very hard to do with my scenario. So maybe that's slightly arrogant of me to compare myself to the God King Rogian, but I just think that's how it goes. If he's not enjoying it, if he's again, get some help.
Oh, how dare you compare yourself to Rogan Jesus?
I guess not.
Hey, parenthetically, I think that one of the most important things the leader can do is make himself redundant. And I'd hope that if I left Omni, it would continue on in some incarnation. And I think that every leader really ought to work his ass off to make himself useless.
That is my absolute goal. That is my stated goal, as I've said multiple times. I just don't think my guild is there yet.
I'm not sure Omni is either, but I like to think it is.
Well, I think both your guilds are doing great. I think they're getting better and better with each week, or each 10 weeks, depending on how you want to look at it. Zing.
Ow. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm greedy and selfish and whatever. I just have a different mindset. I would never be okay with that. I would spend day and night trying to merge with Europa just so I could have around-the-clock coverage. That would be step one. And then I would just recruit my balls off.
Slow down.
All right.
Also said you didn't want a poop sock.
I don't want a poop sock.
So what's your solution here? How are you going to beat people that are poop socking if you're not going to poop sock?
Well, like you, obviously, there's going to be hours, a window of hours where if a mob pops, we're just not going to get it. But if we have enough people just play around the clock, we'll go for things.
But you're going to lose every time to the people that are poop socking.
Oh.
Yes.
Maybe I would just go to red server then and not deal with any of that bullshit.
Right, and so there you go. I mean, if you would say that at that point you'd go to red server, that's an acknowledgement that merging with Europa is not going to do a damn bit of good, and you're going to end up on red anyway. And we're at the crux of the issue again.
But here's my question, Sirken, because I'd really like to nail this point down. If our competing guild, let's say that like Cloki and me and Europa, or we form some like super guild alliance, we've got 45 people on at all times, right? We have the numbers, easily. I mean, there's so many people in Class R, right? But our competitors are going to sit there on the spawn points of these, or not the spawn points, but the zone-ins or whatever of these places, whether it's, TMO and IB do this all the time, You've got your Venerable Sather poop sock, your Trachanon poop sock, your Severillus poop sock, your Fated R, you don't have to poop sock because the poll takes so long, so you can at least just camp out at Ogre Island. But the point is, if you're competing against the guild that's doing these things, you will not beat them.
Oh man, can't you just work out some kind of agreement to end that? Because...
Oh, like a rotation in C?
No, rotations are stupid.
Yeah, okay. I'm just popping
You're not
buttons.
You're not racing for anything with rotations. I feel like you are literally being handed pixels on a silver platter with rotations. And I know a lot of people disagree with that, but those same people will tell me it's not hard to kill 32k mobs. So, I don't know. I don't like rotations. I feel it takes absolutely every sense of competition out of it.
Well, so first off, I've always kind of disagreed with that because rotations are extremely competitive. It's just in a different way. With the rotation, your goal is to be as small as possible. Therefore, get the most pixels per person. If you can kill the same targets with fewer people, you get more pixels. There's always a way to break the system. It's just a different one.
Yeah, but you're right. The system has turned into a Zerg recruiting, poop socking cesspool of just horrible.
No, look, I mean, this is the point that Cloki and I are trying to make, and this is not the attitude that is shared by all of the R guilds.
No, I assume you're speaking for yourselves and not everyone else.
There are some R guilds that, just don't want to compete at all. And I think that's fine. I think there should be that, I mean, there were plenty of servers on live that had rotations. I actually played on Prexis
Although I was never part of the raid scene, Praxis was one of the famous servers for rotations that eventually broke down when there were like 30 people on the Venral Sather rotation. But the point is this. I think both of us, we're happy to compete, right? We're competitive guys. You know, if you play basketball with me, like, we're going to get into it. If you're beating me, I'm start fouling you, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, we're ready to compete. It's just we don't like the method of competition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if I could wave a wand and make poop socking just go away, I would. But I can't tell somebody that they can't sit at the Carner's Castle zone in for 16 to 24 hours if that's what they choose to do with their playtime.
You can make it go away by getting rid of variants and having everything a rumble, all repops, a random rumble, 1 a week and then 2 to 4 a month. That would end poop socking. It wouldn't end camping out. That's another issue, and it's something I don't have a problem with.
Hold on, are you saying get rid of the actual pops and just use rumbles?
Yes, 1 rumble per 7-day period and then 2 to 4 a month. It'd be a lot more like live than it is now.
And you don't think people would poop sock that anyway?
They would camp out. They would camp out their tunes if they wanted to, but you couldn't poop sock a rumble.
So my personal opinion is...
Time out, hold on. Don't jump on your personal opinion yet. They used to poop sock Trachanon 5 or 6 days a week when it had the extended window variance garbage before the RC system got added.
All right, so let them poop sock and have them pop to the zone on a rumble. I mean, evac everybody to the evac spot in the zone. It's easy.
What about the people that are just in left courtyard, not having anything to do with Venral Sather, who get booted to the zone?
Then they walk back. Well, it's a repop, and it might help them, actually. Then they walk back and reclaim their camp.
What about the groups that now has to clear their way back down to the crypt and worry about assholes leapfrogging them and stealing their camp, and they had no interest in Trachanon? You can't That's way better. You can't just shit on the entire zone because a raid mob pops, is my point.
I don't understand how evacing is shitting on the entire zone.
If you don't want to be evac'd and you end up losing your camp, that is shitting on everybody who's not involved in the dragon kill.
And secondly, the vast majority of these people are involved in the raid scene on some level and would, I think, accept that as the cost of doing business.
I think if I put a poll out to Omni, every person in the guild would vote that was a small cost of doing business.
I mean, who are these people that are camping the crypt that are also not in any of the raid guilds? I mean, there are a few of them. But if
there
you
were
improve
people
the raid
in the crypt today when Trachanon popped, and it was a free-for-all Trachanon.
What?
There were people in crypt. There were people at the NG camp. They weren't.
All right, listen, Sirken. Give me 4 people camping crypt, okay? Let's set up this scenario, right?
You got 4 people in crypt, sure.
All right. If there is a rumble, how many people are going to be in that group after the rumble happens? That group is no longer viable because there was a rumble. I'm
say that, but not every guild is going to go for these mobs.
On a random rumble repop, I think every guild but maybe 1 or 2 is going to go after some target.
Assuming these are free-for-all targets.
Even if they're not, even if it's RC,
right.
FFA like it is.
Let's say it's a rumble and it's an R Trachanon. BDA, Taken, Divinity, Omni, maybe A-Team are going for Trachanon.
Right, and the other people who were in the crypt group that were TMO, IB, and Europa are going to go for VP targets, and Europa's going to go after the CT that's theirs. And so that crypt group dies anyway. Maybe it leaves one guy out in the cold who would have been abandoned on a rumble anyway.
That it could happen that way, but it could happen that a repop goes down when most of the targets are in R and IB and TMO, and if there's another C guild, they might not feel like leaving the crypt because the only things that are C are things that aren't worth their time at the moment.
Like VP?
VP, that's the only thing they have to rush on. And it's Class C.
Hey, we'll rush on it, though.
Well, no, you missed my point, Sirken. You have a group, 1 IB, 1 TMO, 1 Omni, and 1 random guy, okay?
Right.
In the crypt, just hanging out, trying to get a cloak or whatever. All right. There's a rumble. There is only one person, that random guildless guy, who doesn't move on a raid target, and that group would have broken up anyway. No harm to the evac. And seriously, if you want to talk about potential harm to the evac versus 16 hours worth of poop socking and wasted human time, you're not gonna win that conversation as far as harm versus harm goes.
I still don't agree with moving people. You're making the assumption that everybody in the zone is going to be part of a guild going for something.
No, I'm not making that assumption. I'm saying that there's less harm in it. But all right, let's grant you that complete argument and take that off the table. Figure out another way to end the 5 to 6 day poop sucking. I mean, it doesn't matter, but one random repop a week rather than the 8-hour variance that we have would cut down on poop socking tremendously.
Hold on, small point here. Rumbles reset every mob in the zone. So
Correct.
imagine that we have, let's say, 30 people in Sebelis. 20 of those people are in a guild that's going to be going for a target. 10 are not. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go check the fucking Myconid Spore King, right? They're going to go check for the crypt and see if they just got a hero cloak. These people are not losing.
They are if they don't get their camp back. They are if they didn't want to leave their camp. Yeah, they might get a Hyro cloak. They might get a rare drop from a rare spawn that might pop instead of the common placeholder for that one rumble. I mean...
Well, yes, okay, so any individual one is low.
Statistically,
but like
none of that's going to happen.
Seriously, 15 named in Sebelis, there's going to be a couple that pop.
There's not... That's in the entire zone. That's not the crypt group.
Yeah, but so what? The point is they probably have the entire zone to themselves now because all of the guilds
and I bet you they would have much rather just cleared their camp one additional time than get booted to the zone and have to clear back through the zone to their camp.
All right, drop that as an idea. Let's figure something else out.
I will say, I think repops over general, or rather, I think rumbles over the general classic repops is a really good idea because you can't plan. Like, you don't, like on Red, they know exactly when things are going to pop because there is no variance. And they log in a whole goddamn Zerg army of neckbeards to slay things. And it's I mean, I think that's retarded in its own way. And here, the variance, in theory, it's really good. But then you have nerds that are actually willing to poop sock the entire window, and it ruins the whole point of having the variance. And if it was completely random rumbles only, as long as they happened every week, every, say, 5 to 7 days, I don't know how you... Like, you'd literally have to just have people poop socking 24/7 every day.
Well, you wouldn't poop sock. You would poop sock with your accounts. And that's how IB already does it.
Well, they'd have trackers. Everybody would have 1 or 2 trackers because, I mean, you'd be an idiot not to.
You wouldn't need a tracker you don't need a tracker on a rumble.
Oh, I guess not, because the whole world shakes, yeah.
Yeah, makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. There's that whole thing.
And that would take out, me having to ask some guy to devote 16 hours of, work time, whatever, recreation time, to mashing that goddamn number 4 button for who knows how long. I mean, that's onerous in itself.
That poor
I even prefer the no variance. Like, we're going up to the Afrides now. It's kind of silly. But there's some shenanigans, like whoever pulled, I think it was TMO, but I don't know for sure. But somebody pulled the Blaze Storms, and we had some good fun there. Like about 60 people died out of like 200 people in the zone. I thought that was hilarious. Some people were very upset about that, but my point is, at least we're not wasting time. Like, it's a completely dumb method of competition, but at least it's not 16 hours of wasted time. It's not 96 hours of tracking time before.
Nobog just had a suggestion saying that if a raid NPC spawns, move every member of raiding guilds to West Commons, online and offline members. It eliminates poop socking and camping out.
That is exactly what I said before.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Fuck, you are the fucking man. I posted exactly that solution in the our forums.
All right.
Back on this one, Cloki.
If I ever say that Nobog will say it's not classic to any of you, remind me of this exact occurrence.
Nilbog, I love you. Please make this happen. That is exactly what I want. I said, except instead of West Commonlands, I was thinking a random spot, a random fire pot spot.
Yeah, anyway.
So you could go anywhere between Hollis, God knows where you're gonna end up, right? And you have to either cap or hammer out. But that was my suggestion because you cannot poop sock. All those call the hero bots, done. The fact that you have a huge advantage on the raid scene right now for your 12 tunes, right? Not anymore. So Nilbog, you are my fucking hero.
Yeah, and make all of the repops, no variants, no tracking, just rumbles, 1 a week and then 2 to 4 a month. And boy, that would sure do a lot for the raid scene.
I'm telling you, Nilbog, if you implement this system, there will be some bitching. There will be the people who are like, God damn it, like I was fighting the Hierophant and he had the cloak, and then the rumble like struck like 30 seconds before I was gonna kill him. And there will be some stories like that. But on the whole, the server would be so much better.
I agree.
I
Piss a ton of people off, but it'd sure be a lot more fun.
I don't even think it would. Like,
Are we talking about rumbles or moving people to West Commons?
both.
Both.
Oh, God damn
The
it.
combo of both,
some
yeah.
people who are frustrated, people that have been using their willingness to do these kind of things, to build a kind of ego around it.
Yeah.
There would be some people who would be very frustrated. That's a relatively small fraction of the server. I mean, that's like the 1% of the server.
We don't care about players' egos.
I mean, even like TMO and IB, that's like 1% of their population. They've got a couple. But the thing is, those very small numbers of people have a very high impact on the raid scene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have a couple people that are willing to jab spam, you win, right? So, thank God we have no more jab spamming. That was actually my month in IB, and I was like, the general consensus among everyone in IB was that we would like to reach through the internet and stab whoever invented jab spamming in the face, like, just horrible. But no, I cannot believe Nilbog was actually suggesting this. That is so fucking awesome.
Usually anything.
It's classic feel, right? Having 1 million people sitting on the spawn point, that doesn't feel classic. Having to logging all these counts in, that doesn't feel classic either. But resets, that feels
Racing is cool, and being surprised by repops is cool. I mean, I was playing on live from day one, and my God, we were having 3 or 4 patches a week through Velius and Lukeland and everything else. I mean, it was a shit fest. The server was down more than it was up, it seemed. And I mean, it's just a patch fest.
Yeah, no, I remember. I remember feeling lucky to be able to play at one point.
Right.
It was so bad. Oh, well, I agree with you. Anything that would make make it seem more classic, regardless if it actually is classic, is if it brings the classic feel more to the game, I think that would be better. I think anything that gets rid of the poop socking is a good idea. I just know we don't like to willy-nilly things. We don't like to shoot from the hip. We don't like to go back on things once we do them. We like to if we do something and it's horrible, we're not just going to stick by it out of stubbornness. But we like to try as best we can to get it right when we do it.
But don't you find this a rather arrogant position? I mean, speaking entirely for myself, okay? When the new RC system came out, I was like, 16 hours of variance, cool, maybe we'll try something. Like, this is going to be awesome. I did not think that people were going to jab spam. I did not think people were going to call the hero duck. Like, that's just not on my radar at all.
Jab
It's
spamming's
just
been a
really
thing.
hard to figure out how the players are going to react. And the reality is, when you say, oh, we're going to figure it all out beforehand, you're basically saying, we're smarter than all the players on the server.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not.
This speaks to Raev's entropy point, too. I mean, you roll something out that looks good, It's going to decay a little bit with Jav spam, with poop socking, with Call of the Hero ducking, and that's where the work against entropy comes in. I'm not saying that this system would work perfectly from the outset, but I'm saying that with a little tuning and a little work, you get rid of the entropy that is Jav spamming, that is Call of the Hero ducking, and you end up with legitimate races, which is something we do not have now, is legitimate races.
That's the other thing that I really want to say. I mean, obviously, I have my opinion. I'd love to see everyone ported to West Commonlands. I think that'd be fantastic. It'd be really fantastic if we had like a nice 10-minute warning. You know, like, hey, this repop is about to happen in 10 minutes. Say goodbye to your family. You're about to enter the nerd zone. But the biggest thing that I want to see from the staff is just, hey, we get it. We're not happy with the raid scene, and we've been just our solution's been to just run away from it for a while. But we want to have a nice garden, and we're just going to keep putting some time into it until we have a raid scene that we're satisfied with. That's what I'd like to see from the staff. I'm not saying that I'm smart enough to predict the future, or you guys are smart enough. I'm just saying that if you try it and you adjust, as Cloki says, you tune, you tweak, I don't think this is an insoluble problem. I think it is something that can be done. But I think it requires some effort, and it's tough. The big problem is we have to be classic, right? Like, the other solution is we give Trachanon 10 times his hit points.
I want to say that would never happen, but I don't know anymore. I don't know what would... Nobog, he shocked me when he was like, let's move nerds to West Commons.
I don't know how serious he was. Maybe he was just joking, but it's an idea that would work.
But the bottom line here too is what we're talking about increasing competition and leveling the playing field a little bit for competition, where it doesn't require a 16-hour commitment to grow your beard. And I think that that's really important, because that's the biggest issue that I think all of us face.
And one thing that I do want to add, I think there has been an attitude among some that Valius will fix the scene, and I think it will make it a lot better. But Cloki has, I think, some relatively good points there in terms of
relatively. Thanks.
I'm not. Some of your stuff I'm not quite buying on the whole one unifying guild taking over, but what I do definitely agree is
different conversation that these people aren't in on, though.
Oh, okay. Well, what I do think is very valid is Valius is going to bring in a lot of players, right?
Yeah.
I think a ton of players are going to come back, and you have not seen anything until you've seen 200 people socking Lotazol. And it's going to happen.
I never saw that. I played on a PvP server.
Well, here's the thing, though. So, we can talk about Red. I know you've mentioned that before. I actually tried out the Red server, and, Red has this reputation as being just this server that is completely filled with degenerates. It's Lord of the Flies, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really find that. I found them to be pretty normal people.
It's been getting better over the last 6 or 7 months.
But here's the problem. The problem with Red is it's all about the PvP. There were some terrible players on Red. I was in a Soul B group, and we were sitting at the zone to Soul A, right below the, not the one near the goblins, but, just the easy one, you go into the right to Soul A. And the guy refused to leave. He's like, if I leave, I could die. And I can only res you guys on my pallet. And we had a group of 40 people, right? And I was on my monk. I was like, hey, I can split the king. No big deal. I was pulling the king box back to fucking Soul A because this guy refused to leave the zone, right? And Holocaust right now, they have 70 people 60 people for their kills, right?
They have a lot of people.
Trivial. Right? I mean, Trachodon is completely boring. I know because I've been on VP raids with TMO. At their height, I remember going on one raid with them. They had 65 people, and Hashkar died in 20 seconds. Yeah. I mean, when you have 65 people and you got 10 rogues and they all pop duelist, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's going to die really fast. And it was just, you talk about, it's free pixels in rotations. I think it's free pixels in Zergs, right? There's no effort there. You're just purely showing up, you're hitting the button, and you're getting your pellet. And that was why I didn't want to join TMO. It wasn't because they were so bad. It wasn't even because of the time commitments. I just didn't find it rewarding to do that kind of thing. I was just maybe I should have, because then Sakuragi would have a Crown of Royale and, a few more VP things, but I mean, that certainly was the easiest era of acquiring pixels on the server relative to now, when there's a lot more effort in VP. But I mean, I do see that effort, that mindset of, oh, this rotation is just like hitting the button and getting your pellet. But I think that's much less true for guilds like Omni and A Team that are more reasonably sized. We killed our last Trachanon with, I think, 24, which is, about what is expected for the encounter, I think.
Right, and to tune things up on our end, I mean, like, we just had Draco and Maestro last week. I told people I wasn't doing pickups, that they had to get there themselves. In the instant that we had force that I felt could take down the mob, we were going to run with that force. And that was to push ourselves. And they were both done under 10 minutes of pop, I think. And so, I mean, we really do enjoy pushing and enjoy the fun of the PvE and also the competition with other guilds. I just think there's a misconception there.
Well,
definitely my biggest problem with the whole RC system is this attitude that, the C guilds are filled with these amazing players, and the R guilds are a bunch of, welfare. I mean, I don't think that we're better than TMO or IB, but I don't really think we're that much worse either. They've got a little more practice doing their kind of thing, and that certainly counts. But in terms of overall level of coordination, I think if we went head-to-head with them in an actual mobilization race for a month or two, we'd hold our own. We probably would get a little bit less, but, we wouldn't embarrass ourselves.
And you'd learn.
By the way, one of my guys is saying they need an opt-in, opt-out port to West Commonlands on Rumble, and maybe if you hit no, you wouldn't be able to tag your raid mob for a few hours.
These are just accoutrements. There's a lot of tuning that go on, and this could be discussed by people a lot smarter than we are. But the point is, to 16 hours of shit socking isn't competitive. Rumbles would be, or more competitive. And I think that if we're going for competitive, for racing, for level playing fields, that's what the conversation needs to revolve around. And but to start that conversation is what's important. The specifics can be tuned as we go.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's not Rumbles. I mean, there are other ways to do it. Like, suppose we went back to, like, millions of hours of variance, and every raid mob shouted to the world when they spawned.
Mm-hmm.
Can't poop sock that. You can have all your accounts camped out, but anyway, I mean, my point is this.
Well, no. If there was a variance, they could poop sock it, because they would know the window.
No, I'm saying millions of hours of variance.
Oh, like continuously overlapping windows.
Let's even just say it's a flat chance. So every tick, there's like a 1 in 1,000 or 1 in a million chance that Trachanon will spawn.
I'll do that math for you if you want.
It's an easy, relatively easy computation to figure out what you'll get the same rate. But, the point is, you can't poop sock it, right? So, I mean, there's lots of ways. I like the Rumble thing because I think that's the most fair. And also, the nice thing about Rumbles is you have a little bit of a stratification. You have a guild like Moonlight Crusaders, they're going to head for Maestro. Mid-level guilds like, A-Team and Omni, we're going to go for maybe Trachanon or Goronair.
Self-stratifying by weight class.
Whereas, TMO and TB, as I like to call them, are going to go straight for VP. So the nice thing is, you can't go everywhere. And there's going to be, maybe they'll choose to go for Vandal Sather. There's lots of games people can play.
Yeah.
But it forces people to make some choices and not just get everything. Because if you had massive variance, IB would show up to every mob, TMO would show up to every mob. And, we'd get some, I'm sure. But, if you're a new guild trying to break into the raid scene, you'd be screwed.
Well, I mean, I agree with that. I think it's real hard for new guilds right now. And
it's not our fault. They joined the R rotation.
Yeah, but then they have to wait 60 or 90 days for a kill.
It's not even that bad. You get some.
Do you know how disheartening it is to come here, buy a bunch of platinum from some website, get leveled up to 60, and then join R and find out that you can't raid for 60 to 90 days? You're going to end up getting banned by Darabale before you come up in the rotation.
All right, Sirken, that was pretty good. Was that one of the ones where you put us all on mute and we're doing something?
No, I think they all heard that. Oh. I have way too much fun sometimes.
No, that was pretty funny. But the reality is this: you can always sign up for the rotation a little early, and you'll go faster on the 3-day targets. So the Draco and Maestro, you'll be up pretty soon. I think Moonlight Crusaders has been doing that, and they got their first Maestro kill pretty soon.
And they've skipped a couple of times too.
So it's certainly a way to go. I think it's what 10 people on say the Vendel Sather rotation. So that's 120 days, which is 4 months. And that's with no rumbles at all. So in reality, it's probably going to be more like 3.
Hey, sir, can you say A plus real quick so that guy can drink?
A plus, and A plus.
Right on, thank you.
That should hold him over for a minute. Oh, god damn it. I hope he doesn't die. I don't endorse anyone drinking to words that I say.
Okay, so I think we've hit the diminishing returns curve on this part of the conversation, and I think we've opened a fucking excellent can of worms. What else you got on your plate, Sirken?
I had lasagna tacos on it earlier. A friend of mine feels really bad that I don't eat actual food. And I was like, you know what I'd really like? Lasagna. And they have no idea that I actually have been eating the shit out of lasagna. And they made lasagna and they brought some over. And I wrapped it up in a tortilla and threw some cheese on there and ate the shit out of it.
I think you're doing it wrong.
I don't know. I got free lasagna out of this.
Yeah. Well,
and
your
I was able.
Got shit in it though.
No.
Mixing Mexican and Italian cuisine.
It doesn't matter. I'm able to be at the computer providing valuable CSR work to people in time that I normally wouldn't be able to because I got my lasagna wrapped up in one hand and I'm saving lives and restoring items with the other hand.
Well, god damn it.
Kind of like a miracle worker.
You also like General Tso's lasagna?
I like what?
General Tso's lasagna? Maybe stir-fried lasagna?
No.
I'm trying to think of all the, maybe bratwurst or like Polish sausage lasagna.
I'm all about wrapping shit up in tortillas so that I can eat it at the computer.
Why don't you just have a fork and like a plate and you rotate?
Because then I have to have a plate and a fork on my desk. And then I'm reaching over food when I'm trying to type shit. It's a whole thing. I don't need that. I just wrap it up in a tortilla. I eat it. Game over.
And you say you don't like poop sacking.
I mean, I don't see how one has to do with the other.
So you can eat at the computer. So with your efficient mechanics.
Oh. But see, I don't know. I feel like I'm actually doing things. I'm not just staring at a wall for 16 hours.
Oh, really? Anyway, let's not open this can of worms up again.
I've been preaching about how if I could do away with poop socking, I would.
So, okay.
I don't poop sock as Sirken.
So hold on. As long as we've got you here, let's all have a little round table. I think this could be fun. What are your predictions for what happens? I'm not going to say when, but what happens when Valius releases on Project 1999 Blue?
The angels will sing. That's what I think will happen. What do you mean? Like specifically, what do you mean?
How many people are poop socking what, and how ridiculous is it, and what? How does it go down? I just think it's.
Man, I have no idea because every time I think I know what you nerds are gonna do next, you do something completely different and more retarded than you were doing before. I'm sitting in staff chat like it can't possibly get worse. Like this is the rock bottom, and then fucking constant 6-hour straight cough ducking becomes a thing, and it's like okay, well now we're probably this is probably the real bottom, and I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the next thing to pop off. So, I'm trying to think if I have other things. I might not have other things. Unless there's other things. I feel like I've asked all the questions I had about, you know what? I would say, because there is a lot of RNF and forum stuff from the Class C people saying bad things about the Class R people, what would you say to new players that about Class R? What as people leading guilds within the class, what kind of words of encouragement can you give them when they hear things like, "Oh, they just want welfare pixels and they suck"?
You want me? Let me start with this one, Raven. You finish up.
All right.
One of the things in Omni's charter is that we expect people to put real life first, their families, their jobs, their schools, their schooling. And if that shit gets out of balance, I've actually taken people aside and told them to back out of the game a little bit and get their shit together. And when people have needed to do that, I've encouraged them to do that, because there's no fucking sense at all having a video game consume you. It ought to be entertainment and recreation, not a lifestyle. And I would say to people that have tons of time on their hands and want to devote 16 hours to poop socking some shit, go join a Sea Guild. If you want to have a life and enjoy the community and you're content to live with less of a shot at loot, and but still be in a community and a competitive environment that you can enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
join in our guild. If you've got that time to put in and are willing to be consumed or willing to sit. And I'm not saying that all sea guilds make people poop sock all the time. I don't want to map that onto them, but they do it way more than we do. And I would just say, hey, I think it's got to be more a question of a lifestyle choice than anything else. Find a guild that meshes well with your real life. I'm not going to judge what your real life is, but you've got to figure out how to keep your life in balance with your entertainment and recreation hour.
No,
Or
if you choose
go
to go
full
full
nerd
on.
if you want to. I'm just differentiating among the guilds, uh, because every guild has something good to offer, and every guild has sort of different requirements of your time and body and soul, and find the right match for you. Omni's not going to be right for everybody. A Team's not going to be right for everybody. IB's not going to be right for everybody. Find one that fits your personality and your time. There's a broad spectrum on P99.
That is true. There are a lot of guilds.
To that, I will say all the guilds are shit, and the A Team is the best guild. Thank you.
Fuck you, Raev.
Just firing shots.
There you go.
Oh, god damn it.
Okay, so more seriously, I will say that I'm very happy, and I think actually a number of people have kind of, I mean, imitated in the sense that imitation is a sincerest form of flattery. But even at TMO, he was posting on their guild thread like doing more with less for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a number of people that are trying to be more A Team like in their guilds, because I think the A Team is kind of a cool thing. It's how to do PvE EverQuest and actually enjoy your accomplishments as opposed to showing up with 8 million people. But it's certainly not for everyone. So
I like it.
But I do think it's a very fun guild to be part of. I actually think Omni is a very similar guild, to be honest.
A-Team's been around for a long time. How long's A-Team been a thing?
2 years, I think.
Jesus.
It's longer than that. It's got to be pushing 3, right?
2.5. I think we founded it. Yeah, it was 2012. So that would be, but like midway through, 2.5 probably.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, god damn it. Alright. Well, I've got no more questions for either of you fine gentlemen. I feel like we've gotten all the things that I wanted to get at. So unless you have questions for me or anything you want to throw in there, that might be it.
I think I'm good for now.
Raev, you got anything? You got any questions or anything at all?
No, I'm exhausted.
It took a lot. Usually we go a little bit longer, but I feel like this one took a lot.
This was an intense battle.
There was a lot going on. I feel very outnumbered.
It is. I mean, we definitely teamed up on you. But
I was like, no, this shit's not classic, and No Bog's like, let's move everyone to West Commons. Great.
I made my day. You just have to understand.
Great.
No, I think we opened up some good cans of worms here and kind of furthered the discussion, brought some things to the fore, and who knows what'll happen with it. But I think that we're kind of all wandering blindly in a similar direction.
All right. Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure being on your stream, Sirken. So I'm going to.
No, you're not. Wait, I have one more question for the both of you.
Okay.
I asked this 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. I don't know. I asked this a few streams back, and it turned into a whole goddamn argument that I ended up editing out of the video because it was that retarded. Cloki, I would like to know, what would you bring to a P99 potluck dinner?
Wow, that's a good question. Give me a little bit more. You know what? I'll tell you what I'd bring. We just bought a half beef of a grain-fed cow. My wife is a veterinarian. She inspected the thing, knew how it was fed, how it grew up. And I would bring ribeyes for everyone and meat like you've never had before.
Did your cow have a name?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But ribeyes for everyone that would just knock your socks off.
Raev, what would you bring to this fabulous event?
Well, my favorite food has always been lasagna.
Oh,
But
God.
now that I'm going paleo and gluten-free, I guess eating along similar lines as well. It would have to be a gluten-free lasagna with rice noodles.
Oh man. I would have brought lasagna tacos, but if you're doing that, I would bring breakfast burritos and call it a day. Boom. We're done.
We're done.
Cloki, you want to say goodbye to these fine people? Tell them where they can go apply to your wonderful guild?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me get the address because it's not committed to memory. Find us on the P99 Guild forums, or you can go to omni1999.com if you're interested in Omni. Have conversations with players in game, read our charter, and see if we'd be a good fit for you.
A+. And Raev, say goodbye to these people.
The easiest way is just to say hi to someone in game, or either check the guild forums. We are definitely recruiting. I mean, I know we have a reputation as a small guild, and we want to stay a small guild, but we want to be a small Valius guild. And a small Valius guild is fielding 35, maybe 40, and capable of killing some of these things. So we definitely are trying to move from about 25 to 35, so it's a bit of a growing process for us right now.
And we'll take good people and figure out what to do with them as they come in.
Because you have 1 million wizards, you can just hook them up with those accounts.
What did Raev call it? The Wizard Wrecking Crew?
Yes, the wizard wrecking crew. It totally is.
Damn straight.
And it's so easy to level wizards now. You just take over Chardock AE.
Oh, gosh,
God,
now
you don't
that's something that ought to be fixed.
Okay, I got one more thing.
All right, let's get into that. Encore, Chardock AE.
One more thing that I want to do, okay? I want it to be a rule that Chardock AE cannot train the zone. If they train the zone in, they need to be fucking banned. And here's the thing. This costs them almost nothing. All they have to do is move up one corner. You know what I'm talking about? They pick the corner right at the zoning because they're fucking morons. If they move up one corner, right, there changes nothing. They have exactly the same pulls, right? It all works exactly the same. They have to mez the roamer in a slightly different spot, right? And as an additional bonus, all the people that they're power leveling won't get killed every fucking time they wipe, which is frequently. Is there any reason we should not do this?
I mean, people should petition them if that's a thing.
I mean, I will go there and just stand there petitioning the AoE group all day long. I will. I do not like Chardock AE.
Look, I hate it. I hate the Chardock AE stuff. So
they should not be able to train the zone in. All they have to do is move in by like one corner. You know what I'm talking about in the geography of Chardock, right? You zone in, you take an immediate left, and then you take it right, and you go down the tunnel, right? And they do the A at the first corner. They should do the A at the second corner.
I concur. That would be wonderful. But
And they don't trade the zone in. and all the people they're power leveling don't fucking die every time they wipe.
I
It's a
don't-
win-win.
I don't think anybody's ever petitioned getting trained by the Chardock AE group for sitting there with them. It's usually like, they won't let me in their camp, so I'm gonna do something stupid to get aggro and then hit them for training.
I sound like Chest according to people in my guild now.
Oh man, they should go back and listen to when Chest came on stream, because I assure you that you don't.
General tells the guild, gluten-free lasagna sounds like Raev likes dudes. I have no idea why I let these people in my guild.
God damn it.
But seriously, this has been something that's just been bothering me because, like, whenever we go to Chardock Royals, the AE group actually makes it easy because you can just run down and unlock the door. But like 1 out of 3 times, they just completely train the fuck out of us. So you're saying we should petition this and have them all banned immediately?
Yeah, if you're not with them and they just train the shit out of you, like, they don't own the zone, they're not allowed to just train people.
Even if it's the zone in, right? Okay.
Well,
so
here's the thing. Okay, there's a difference. There's no zone out there. Like, the reason I tell people when they get trained at the KC entrance or the Mistmore entrance that they're just stupid and to go away is because when you have mobs on you, that's what you're supposed to, like, when you're in trouble, you run to the zone. That's what you're supposed to do. You should never hang out at the zone. And so when people are like, I got trained sitting at the zone line in KC, AFK, like an idiot, I don't feel bad for you. But they can't zone mobs out there at that spot where they do the AE. They're responsible for their mobs. If they pull them all and you mess with their mobs and that's why you get killed, then no, they're not going to get in trouble for training. But if they just act like assholes and you get killed because of it, you can absolutely get them in trouble for training. Mostly because I hate the Chardock AE group.
All right, Sir Sirken, I think we have a pact here.
Just get those
You're
nerds
watching this.
doing their shit and send it to me, because I would love to go in there and just slam my dick on the table that is that fucking Chardock AE group.
I would love to see those guys banned. I don't like Chardock AE. I think the problem is, we need all these accounts to camp out, and Chardock is what supplies them. You just fucking buy alt after alt after alt.
Well, that's fucking ridiculous.
It's the way it works.
That's what happens.
Well, get me some dirt on them. And
No. What he means is buy it with in-game plat.
No, I know. I mean dirt, like training, stuff of that nature. Give me something that I can hit these people with.
I'm fairly sure that some of the people doing Chardock are RMTing. I mean, there's just no other reason to do it.
Oh,
forever.
me too.
I mean, it's just, there's just so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thing about Chardock is, like, it's the same people. Like, it really is the same people. Like, the same name just comes over and over and over. But anyway.
I know,
Well,
you can...
moving down around the corner is not a bad call for
Yeah,
the zone-in issue anyway.
And it helps them out. They don't kill their own power levelees. There's no excuse. It's not even like they have to somehow react. It's the same algorithm.
Yeah, no, I think moving a little bit down to that next corner would be just wonderful.
So, all right. So let it be said, let it be done, or let it be spoken, let it be so. I don't know. Anyway, I think I've done my piece here. I'm exhausted after an hour and 45 minutes of brutal conversation regarding the Project 1999 endgame. Nonetheless, it has been a pleasure to be on your stream, sir.
It has been a pleasure having you, good sir. And Cloki, it's been a pleasure having you as well.
Likewise.
You guys can wait or you cannot wait, but you're going on hold. Maybe they're not, because I'm apparently suck at Skype. There we go. So everybody, thanks for watching and hanging out. Click the follow button if you haven't. And come back next week. Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern is when we do this fine thing here. If you missed stuff, go check out the YouTube. YouTube.com/SirkenP99. It's got all the past things. Have a wonderful night. Maybe. I'm not ready for anything. Nothing. None of the things am I ready for.